Right now, as you are watching this video, in the most isolated corner of the southern Indian Ocean, a fleet of ships is fighting against 20-foot waves. It is 2026, and for the first time in 12 years, the world is holding its breath. Why? Because a company called Ocean Infinity has returned to the water with a deal that sounds like a gamble from a movie. It is called No Find, No Fee. The Malaysian government hasn't paid them a single dollar. If they don't find the plane, they lose millions in operational costs. But if they do, they solve the biggest mystery in aviation history. Since December 30th, 2025, these ships, equipped with advanced underwater robots, have been scanning a specific patch of the ocean floor. This isn't a random search anymore. They are targeting a new, smaller box of just 15,000 square kilometers. A location pinpointed by a new radio technology called WSPR, Whisper, which we will explain later in this video. Welcome to MayDay Central. You might think you know the story of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370. You know it vanished. You know the pilot said, "Good night." But you probably don't know about the 18 minutes of chaos on the ground that let the plane get away. You might not know the full story of the ghost flight theory that suggests the passengers were asleep long before the plane crashed. Today, we are stripping away the conspiracies. We are looking at the forensic data, the satellite math, and the latest 2026 search updates. This is the complete, untold timeline of MH370. To understand the tragedy, we first have to understand the machine. The aircraft was a Boeing 777-200ER, registration 9M-MRO. In the aviation world, the 777 is a legend. It is safe, it is reliable, it doesn't just fall out of the sky. On March 8, 2014, this specific plane was fully airworthy. It was carrying 49,100 kilograms of fuel, enough to fly to Beijing and still have plenty left over. Below the cabin, in the belly of the plane, ground crews loaded the cargo. And here's a detail that internet sleuths have obsessed over for a decade. The manifest included 221 kilograms of lithium-ion batteries. We all know lithium batteries can be dangerous. If they overheat, they can cause intense fires. Was this a ticking time bomb? Investigators later found that these batteries were packed according to regulations, but the theory of a cargo fire started right here on the tarmac. In the cockpit, we had two very different men. In the right seat, First Officer Farik Hamid. He was 27 years old. This was his final training flight. He was young, eager, and planning to get married. In the left seat, Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah, 53 years old, a grandfather, a veteran with 18,365 flight hours. To his friends, Zahari was a geek. He loved aviation so much that he built a flight simulator in his own basement. He even posted videos on YouTube showing how to fix air conditioners and making jokes. He seemed like the perfect pilot, but later, when the FBI looked at the hard drives from his basement simulator, they found something that didn't fit the grandfather image. 6 weeks before the flight, someone had used that simulator to practice a route that didn't go to Beijing. It went south, deep into the Indian Ocean, until the fuel ran out. Was it just a game? Or was it a rehearsal? At 1:19 a.m., the plane reached the edge of Malaysian airspace. This is the handover point. It's like passing a baton in a relay race. Malaysian ATC said, "Contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night." Captain Zahari replied, "Good night, Malaysian 370. 102 seconds later, the plane went dark. The transponder, the device that tells radar, "I am here," was manually switched off. The ACARS tracking system, which sends health reports to the airline, was disabled. Now, here is the part that usually gets skipped. When a plane vanishes, alarms should ring immediately, right? Not this time. For 18 minutes, nobody knew who was responsible. Vietnamese controllers were waiting for MH370 to check in. It never did. They thought, maybe it's still with Malaysia. Malaysian controllers thought, it's already with Vietnam. By the time they picked up the phone to call each other, the plane was already gone. Those 18 minutes of confusion gave the aircraft a massive head start. While the civilians were confused, the military was watching. And this brings us to an important educational term: primary radar. Most air traffic control uses secondary radar. This relies on the plane's transponder sending a signal back. No transponder, no blip on the screen. But primary radar is different. It is old school. It works by bouncing radio waves off the metal skin of the aircraft. It doesn't need the pilot's permission to see them. Malaysian military radar at the Butterworth Air Base picked up an unidentified blip. It wasn't flying to Beijing. It made a sharp, aggressive left turn. It flew back over the Malaysian peninsula, banking hard. This wasn't a plane drifting aimlessly. This was a plane being flown by someone who knew exactly how to navigate. It flew directly over the island of Penang, the captain's hometown. Some psychologists call this a farewell turn. A pilot taking one last look at his home before heading into the dark. The plane then turned northwest, flying up the Malacca Strait. But why did 227 passengers stay silent? Why no text messages? Why no calls? The answer is terrifying. It is a phenomenon called hypoxia. Data suggests that after the turn, the plane may have climbed to 40,000 feet. At that altitude, the air is incredibly thin. If the pilot manually depressurized the cabin, the oxygen masks would drop automatically. But here's the catch. Those passenger masks only last for 15 minutes. They are designed to keep you alive while the pilot descends. But MH370 didn't descend. It stayed high. In the cockpit, the pilot's mask is connected to a large oxygen tank that lasts for hours. This creates a ghost flight scenario. We've seen this before. In 2005, Helios Airways Flight 522 crashed in Greece. In that case, a pressurization error knocked everyone unconscious. The pilots fell asleep at the controls and the plane flew on autopilot until it ran out of fuel. Fighter jets flew alongside it and saw the pilot slumped over. Was MH370 a deliberate version of Helios? If the pilot depressurized the plane intentionally, the passengers would have gently fallen asleep within minutes, never to wake up again. This explains the silence. It explains why the plane flew for another 6 hours without a single distress call. It was a flying tomb. While the passengers were likely asleep, the machine was still awake. For 6 hours, the plane flew south, into the darkness. To the human eye, it was invisible. But to a satellite named Inmarsat, it was still alive. Every hour, the satellite sent a simple signal to the plane, asking, "Are you there?" And every hour, the plane's system replied, "Yes." These were the famous handshakes. There were 7 of them. The last one came at 8:19 a.m. At that exact moment, the fuel ran out. The engines flamed out, and the plane began its death dive. Now, here is the only technical thing you need to understand. Engineers analyzed the time it took for those signals to travel. By measuring that tiny delay, they proved the plane wasn't in the north. It wasn't in the west. It was flying along a specific curved line in the southern Indian Ocean. We call this the 7th arc. It is a lonely, violent stretch of ocean, where waves are as high as buildings. That is where the mystery ends. For 500 days, people said the plane had landed on a secret island. Conspiracy theories flooded the internet. But in July 2015, the ocean finally washed up the truth. On a beach in Réunion Island, thousands of miles from the search zone, a man found a piece of wing called a flaperon. It was covered in barnacles. When French investigators analyzed it, they found something chilling. The edges of the wing were jagged and torn. If the pilot had tried to land the plane gently on the water, he would have extended the flaps. but the damage showed the flaps were retracted, tucked inside the wing. This destroys the hero pilot theory. Captain Zahari didn't guide the plane to a soft landing. The plane smashed into the water at high speed, likely in a steep, uncontrolled spiral. It shattered into millions of pieces. Most of it sank immediately, but this one piece drifted across the ocean to tell us the story. So if we know it crashed on the 7th arc, why haven't we found the main wreckage? Because the ocean floor there is like an underwater mountain range. It is full of canyons and volcanoes. Searching it is like trying to find a suitcase in the Himalayas, in the dark. But today, in 2026, the lights are being turned back on. The company Ocean Infinity has returned. They have signed a new no find, no fee deal with the Malaysian government. But this time, they aren't guessing. They are using new data from WSPR technology, which tracks how the plane disturbed radio waves back in 2014. This data has pinpointed a new, smaller search box of just 15,000 square kilometers. As you watch this, their ships, the Armada fleet, are scanning that exact spot. These are robotic ships, no crew, just sensors. They can dive deeper and stay down longer than any human crew ever could. They started scanning in late December 2025. If the plane is there, these robots will see it. We are now in the final chapter of this 12-year mystery. The batteries in the black boxes died a decade ago, but the memory chips inside them are indestructible. They are waiting for us in the cold, crushing dark. If Ocean Infinity succeeds, we will finally hear the voice recording. We will know if it was a hijacking, a fire, or a choice. Until then, we remember the 239 souls who boarded a flight to Beijing and flew into history. At MayDay Central, we will be tracking every move of the search ships. Make sure you are subscribed. Good night, Malaysian 370.